Hey guys, Michael Sanchez, violin teacher here. Thought I would do something sort of interesting today. Actually show you guys how I sort of set up a violin, what I think about, what I use, etc., etc. You guys feel free to ask any questions. So I'm actually actively doing this for some people that have already purchased or are looking to try some violins. And I thought I would sort of show you guys some tips on what I do and what I've learned. So yeah, right now what I have is some instruments that are sort of already set up. So this, for example, is a Damiano. Actually have quite a few of them here. There's another Damiano. So what I find is that when the distance between the tailpiece and the bridge are not quite 5.5 centimeters, the projection of the instrument is not going to be quite as good. So right now I'm actually working on a Damiano and trying to get the distance between the bridge and the tailpiece to be a little bit farther apart. So right now, this is actually a Damiano without any setup, obviously. So what I'm doing is that because I just took everything off the instrument, as you can see here, this is the tailpiece, and on the back of the tailpiece, there's these little clamps that can be adjusted. So right now what I'm doing is I'm tightening these clamps so that ultimately this thing, whatever you call it, is tighter, and it's going to make the distance between the tailpiece and the bridge farther apart. So you sort of have to guess as far as how tight. I've gotten kind of used to that. So I'm just trying to show you guys. I'm going to turn around here so you guys can see here. So I'm going to put the tailpiece on the back of the button. So right here, sort of have to untangle strings here. 1 second. It's actually a lot easier if I just sort of untangle everything. Okay, so now we have just a tailpiece, and I tightened the bottom of it. So now the loop is tighter. Now I'm going to put it on the back of the instrument. Okay, now how much this actually wants to go down is sort of my teller. So you see right now how it doesn't really want to come down. So I've tightened it too much, okay? So I'm going to take it off now. So I'm going to unloosen it again. So now I'm loosening these to where now it's going to be not as tense up against the instrument. Let's test that out. See how it's a little bit nicer? But this is going to be maybe a little bit too tense. So a little bit more farther down for it to really get optimal projection. So I'm just going to loosen up just a little bit more. Not much. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the strings, my G string, and I'm going to put it into the peg, and then I'm going to sort of, to be able to keep the tailpiece from, moving off, something has to sort of hold it, right? So just the G string is going to be my holder. Okay, so you see right now how the G string is sort of holding up my tailpiece. See that? Okay, but now the difference from before is that my tailpiece is a lot more tense to where it's going to give me more of a more optimal projection. Before it was really loose. So a lot of you guys that might have dull sounding instruments, this is a big adjustment you can make if you follow what I'm doing. Okay, so now I have it in place. My peg fell out at some point, so I'm going to put that back in. And now I'm going to take my D string, actually I see A string right here, so I'm just going to put my A string in to the peg. I like to put strings in sort of nicely as far as so they wind nicely, because if it's done sort of randomly and not done very organized, it can cause problems with how the peg actually turns. These are just things I've learned. So I'm very sort of particular on how I put strings on. All right, and see how I'm kind of keeping the tension on right now? If I didn't keep the tension on like this, my string would sort of unravel down here, okay? So I'm keeping the tension on, and now as I'm keeping the tension on, now I'm tightening the peg, okay? By the way, guys, if you guys are just coming in, I'm showing you guys how I'm setting up a Damiano. All right, so see how now I have my G string and my A string sort of holding up my tailpiece? Okay. All right, next string is going to be, it could be either D or E, but let's do D, if I can find the D string somewhere. There it is. All right, so I'm putting on now my D string. Hope this video helps you guys out. For some of you guys that are more kind of techie, maybe you guys could figure out how to do this. It's not that hard, but it can really help optimize your projection on your instrument. So yeah, I do this every time before I send out a Damiano or any instrument. It really helps a lot. It makes a huge difference. I didn't really think it made a huge difference at first, but it really does. Okay, so G, D, and A are on now. So now the last one's going to be the E string. So I mean, technically I could just send out a Damiano as is, as you can see here, but I wouldn't do that because the distance is not 5.5 centimeters. And that's a huge thing regarding how the instrument's going to sound when it comes out of the case. Okay, so now I'm putting in the E string. One thing that I do, if it's really sort of tangled up like this, I sort of just straighten out the very end, the very tip, so it's easier to go into the peg, right? Peg box. All right, so now I'm tightening up the E string. You see how far the E string is as far as the green? Do you see the green part? Whenever I see it reach about that point in relation to the nut, that's when I actually put the string on. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so see I'm holding the tension up. If you don't hold the tension, then you're going to sort of get an unraveling of the peg. All right, so I keep the tension here. Now I'm turning the peg. It's like that. Okay, so now basically what you want is sort of like not, you know, crazy tight right here when I'm about to put the bridge on. I just sort of want it to be sort of just loose. And then my bridge, I want to make sure that the text of the bridge is facing me as I'm holding the instrument like this, so basically it's facing the tailpiece. Don't do it the opposite way. Technically the lower end of the bridge should be on the E string side. Okay, and then as far as when I put the bridge on, I want it to be even with the F-hole notch. See how there's a notch in the F-hole right here? And there's a notch on the other side, so that's sort of where I'm lining up the bridge. So it's going to go right in there. All right, so I'm standing it up. Okay, now this is really important. Okay, so this is my view of the instrument looking down. As you're turning pegs and sort of you know, tightening the strings as my bridge is on right now, I have to monitor the bridge, and what I do is I very actively make sure that I'm straight perpendicular to the instrument, because as you start to turn the pegs, you're going to start to get a tilting bridge. Your bridge is going to sort of start to kind of tail down, and eventually what you'll see, and this has happened to me when I first started doing this, is you actually get a bridge that just totally collapse, and it'll scare you. So you have to manage the perpendicularness of the bridge, okay, as I tighten the pegs, okay? So I'm doing that right now. I'm looking down, straight down. So I'm tuning up the G a little bit. Okay. Okay, it says it's maybe not the best connection. Hope you guys can see me, hear me. Okay, so another important thing is that as I turn the G string peg, I can only really go so far because now there's only tension on one side of the bridge, and it can actually make the bridge sort of just get out of place. So I want to do just a little bit of tension on each string so that they sort of have even tension on top of the bridge. So I just did the G string a little bit, now I'm going to do the D. And I'm watching what the bridge is doing. Okay, now I'm going to do A. Okay, now I'm going to do E. Make sure that I'm also making sure that they're lined up in the bridge holes. Okay, now my bridge has sort of come forward a little bit, so I'm going to sort of remanage that a little bit. Back. Good. Okay, A. Okay, so now I'm also noticing that I'm not quite lined up with my holes here, so I'm going to sort of just bump it to where it's in the perfect position. And you see how the strings are nice and even. They're even with the F holes now. I'm going to get the strings a little tighter. Okay, remanage the bridge a little bit. You guys might hear a pop sound. That's going to be the tailpiece sort of adjusting into place a little bit. And as I'm doing this, guys, and I've taught you guys this a lot through the lessons, you have to be pushing in as you're twisting. If you don't push in and twist when you're tuning pegs, they're just going to fall back down. So what I'm doing is I'm tight to the instrument, and then I'm pushing in as I'm turning. So watch. I'm not just turning, I'm pushing it. Okay, so now it's going to stick. Okay, now I'm noticing that the peg is a little bit tight because I've pushed in so much. So now I can sort of just relax and just sort of twist it more and not push so much. So tuning is all about managing the tension of the pegs inside of the peg box. So I'm just trying to feel out how far to sort of push in as I'm turning. A lot of you guys, when you guys get my instruments, you probably don't even notice I do that, but it helps so that your tuning is a lot easier. Since I'm sort of doing it for you. Okay, so now we got the strings on. We don't have a chin rest on yet, so here's my chin rest. So to do that, I'm going to sort of put the instrument in between my knees. I'm going to put the chin rest into place. There's a little thing here I got to make sure I keep on there. That's on the back of the chin rest. So I'm going to sort of loosen this a little bit so that it can go on there a little bit easier. And I have room to sort of put this little piece underneath the chin rest. Okay, now I'm going to use an Allen wrench. So you see the tip here? That's what I use to go into the chin rest hole, and that sort of helps me to tighten it up. Okay, so now, let's see if you guys can see this. Alright, so now I'm tightening up the chin rest. I don't know if you guys can see or not, but it's just righty-tighty. You guys should all be able to do this part. Making sure that that little piece that I had in there a second ago is staying put and not jumping around. Also being very careful to make sure I don't bump this thing up against the instrument, as that can cause scratches. Alright, so I'm tightening up the chin rest. Until I can sort of feel it hard to turn it. Want it on there nice and secure. Okay, so now all finished. So we have the chin rest on there, we got the strings all on there nicely, And I did all that process just because I wanted this to be farther, but it makes a huge difference with projection. Whenever I want to tune an E string, I never do it from this position, because E strings just take a certain level of pushing in and feeling. It's a little harder to tune the peg from this position with the E. Okay, so now I'm looking it over just to make sure it doesn't have any sort of things that need to be cleaned up. So I normally just polish it up. So I'll grab my, what's that stuff at? My polish at. All right, so varnish cleaner. So put a little bit of varnish cleaner on. About that much. This really shines it up, makes it look nice and good, gets rid of any smudges. Okay, I just kind of notice, make sure the bridge is on nice and straight, it's not leaning at all. Make sure the chin rest looks perfect. Sort of evaluate the fingerboard. Looks really good. All right, so now I have to decide which student that ordered over the weekend gets this one. So this is a really nice one. It's got a great sound, great look to it. Whoever gets this one will be very happy. And normally what I do is I have my assistant, who's actually here right now, help with sound post adjustments. So I'll actually quickly introduce you guys. So everybody, this is Bernie.
Hello.
So Bernie's my sound post masterette. She does all the little bumps, because inside the instrument there's actually a sound post that, you know, if it's just moved a little bit here or here, it just makes a little bit difference with the projection. So Bernie, would you mind adjusting one for us? Are you busy? It's okay, you're busy. Just to show everybody.
Sure.
Okay. That'd be awesome. Okay, so yeah, right now it could use just a little bit of a bump, I think. So right now Bernie's grabbing her sound. Yeah, everybody say hello to Bernie.
I was on vacation, and so I'm not sure where it went. Oh, there's...
So I missed Bernie very much last week, as she was on vacation, and yeah, it really shows when she's gone, as she does so much for us.
I can't find...
Can't find it?
No.
It's right there, isn't it?
No, I can't. Oh, yeah.
All right.
The one there or the one here? Which one?
Yeah, if you want to adjust this is the one I just set up. So, yeah, right now I think it could use just a little bit more on the lower end as far as projection, depth a little bit. So it sounds really good right now, but she's going to just adjust it even more. Yeah, this is the tool.
This end.
So that's the tool that she uses. And I honestly, I can't actually do what she's doing right now. This takes a lot of talent. The first time she did it, how long did it take you, Bernie? 2 hours?
I don't remember. I've pushed that out of my mind.
Yeah, it's hard to do because you can't actually grab the sound post. You have to go inside with a tool and like gotta grab it and then prop it back up and then sort of know exactly where it should go exactly. You gotta get a feel for that. So like when she gives me one of the instruments back, she's gonna get feedback from me on if I think it sounds better. So she sort of gets a feel for what works and what doesn't. All right, thank you. Sounds super, super warm on the lower end, so I think that did the trick.
Yay.
Cool. So yeah, she normally gets them the first or second time. So cool. So that violin's all ready to go. Let me just kind of glance through some of the comments and people that are hanging out here. So Jonathan, setting up a sound post led me to get very upset. Yeah, you totally understand that. Everybody's saying hello to Bernie. So cool. Thanks everybody for hanging out here with me, sort of setting up some violins. So yeah, everything that I just did there is basically what I do for a Damiano or any instrument. You know, stretching the tail pieces, making sure everything looks good on the violin. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but you know, all the extra time that I put in, I think, you know, pays off as far as, you know, you guys are really happy with them. They sound really good, you know, right out of the cases. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about, you know, violin setups or anything like that, feel free to email me, michael@superiorviolins.com. Would love to help you guys out with anything you guys are wondering about. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed my video on setting up a violin. Hope you have a great day.